I feel like God speaks to me through I don't know, just life. Like, I mean, the more I live, the more he speaks, if that makes sense. Like, I used to look for God in the most trivial things, in the most mystical things, the most magical things. But the more I live and the more I've explored, um, God is in one is in everything, right? But if we go deeper, God is in the most simple things. So he speaks to me just through just whenever I'm looking for, whenever I'm listening, he's speaking. What I mean? It's through my writing, honestly, through
Mm.
my expression, through my courage, and through my authenticity.
Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to Spiritually Fly. I'm your host and your guide, Faith Hunter. By listening or watching this podcast, you are taking steps to rebuild your life, learn ways to courageously live out your dreams, or maybe you're here to unlock your potential. You know why you are here. So let's drop into the power of self-healing and step into a place of self-care. Along the way, I'll provide you with science-based yet spiritually grounded practices that will enhance your life and elevate your soul. Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to Spiritually Fly. I am Faith Hunter, your host and your guide, and this is episode number 13. Today's episode is an interview with the artist, the musician, the activist, AJ McQueen, based out of Houston, Texas. So before we dive into the interview, for those of you that may or may not know him, you may know a little bit here and there, I'm going to just kind of fly through a couple of major points in his bio. All right, who is AJ McQueen? Starting as a soulful Midwestern MC, AJ McQueen has become and evolved his lyricism consciousness and his own life experience into his music. After finding his rhythm and his style, AJ has further developed into an artist who utilizes his voice for the people. As AJ looks to the future, he recognizes his musical inspiration ranges from some of my freaking favorites Tupac, Nipsey, Nas, Lauryn Hill, Bob Marley, and Lil Wayne. With the purest intent of making an impact, AJ encourages the exercise of freedom, the pursuit of truth, and raising others to their full potential through his music. As a lyrical painter, and actually he says that in our interview, as a lyrical painter who has been given a world-sized canvas to compose masterpieces, his music is organic, transparent, poetic, challenging, and introspective. As a man, pause. As a king of many talents, AJ brings a raw and captivating sound to hip hop. Everybody, I introduce you to AJ McQueen. Hello, AJ McQueen. How are you
Hey,
doing
Chris,
today?
I'm great. I'm pretty
Can I
supporting
call
now.
you can I call you AJ?
Oh,
Because I
yeah.
saw this in another video or another interview where you like, and I'm the same way. I'm always like, I am Faith Hunter. So, because it took me a while to grow into that name. So,
Yeah, yeah.
so
No, you
I
could.
figured I would ask you that. You said that was left for your friend.
Yeah, no, you could. One, thank you for asking that. No, you could definitely call me AJ. I feel like, it's all based off of just intentions, with me.
Hmm.
So I feel like somebody calls me AJ is because they either know me on a personal level or want to know me on a personal level.
Yeah.
And therefore, people that just call me AJ McQueen, I reserve this to just business
Mm.
and people that's not that close. So
Okay. Right. Okay. So again, AJ, thank you. Thank you so much for joining me today. The first thing I always like to ask people when I'm interviewing them is, how does God speak to you or through you?
that's a great question. I feel like God speaks to me through I don't know, just life. Like I mean, the more I live, the more He speaks. If that makes sense. Like um, I used to look for God in the most trivial things, in the most in the most like mystical things, the most magical things. But the more I've lived and the more I've explored, um, God is in one is in everything, right? But if we go deeper, God is in the most simple things. So He speaks to me just through just whenever I'm looking for, whenever I'm listening, He's speaking. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
so there's that, and then your second question was again.
So how does he speak through you?
Oh yeah, yeah, no, for sure. It's through my writing, honestly, through
Mm.
my expression, uh, through my courage, and through my authenticity. I believe and I know 100% that He speaks to me. He speaks through me the most.
Wow. Has it taken a while for you to drop into, when you said authenticity, to truly drop into yourself? Or was it a progression?
Um, it was definitely through progression. I can think back to when I was, a child, and I've always been very into myself, but not in a negative way. But I've always been very heartfelt, passionate. When I was a youth, I was a sensitive child. You know what I mean? Like, uh, sensitive as in I didn't even like killing insects. When I was a child. I
Oh,
felt like I don't know. I want to build them a house or something. Like I didn't like I didn't like hurting animals. I didn't like hurting people. When I was a child, and so when I look back in retrospect, I definitely have always been very I've always had a level of authenticity,
mhm.
but definitely through in the last year or two, that journey, oh no, like in the last 3 years, that journey has increased, and then in the last year and 6 months, it's fine tuned itself to a point to
Mm,
where that's all I can be is authentic.
yeah. I'm gonna get to like some of your backstory, but every time people chat with me, I always like hear these other moments where I think is really powerful. So what happened 3 years ago that helped you kind of make a closer step into your authentic self?
Ugh, a lot happened. But if I can highlight, honestly, I've all 3 years ago, I know for sure I started to unlearn myself um, in ways that I never had before, and I would start questioning everything. You know what I mean? And I've always been very inquisitive, but I started questioning everything and just my life, from my mental, my emotional, my spiritual, and in those areas, I just started to unlearn and relearn, and everything changed for me from my music to my appearance. Like you go look at pictures of me
Oh.
years ago, I don't even look like the same person. And not because I did something drastic. It's just the energy changed. Like, um, and I just got tired of living out of a suitcase that somebody else packs. You know what I
Oh.
mean? Like I just, somebody else packed this. Like this doesn't fit me anymore. This doesn't suit. And that's what happened. And God has been since 3 years ago, God has been revealing to me different things about myself, from the beautiful things to the ugliest things I've ever seen in ever.
Wow.
And I instead of running from it, I decided to just hold it to my chest and let it change me. So,
Ah, oh my gosh, I love that. I love that. So yeah, so let's get into kind of like your backstory from
okay.
St. Louis to H Town. Do they call it H Town or is it
Yeah,
East Town?
that's what they call it.
I live in NOLA now, so I'm like getting comfortable to returning to the South. I was born in
Okay.
Louisiana and I lived on the East Coast for a really long time. So, um, yeah, I've come full circle. But anyway, St. Louis to Houston.
Yeah.
Tell me how that journey has happened.
Um, when I say this a lot, my childhood started very very dysfunctional. I like many, but mine was, you know, dysfunctional. I mean, I was born 3 pounds 6 ounces. You know what I mean? Like
Mm,
I was a preemie. I came in. My mom said that the umbilical cord was wrapped around my neck. She said, I was in the incubator for 6 months. Like just that whole story. And the crazy thing about that, she didn't tell me that until I was like 26. And that she told me that while I was having like a midlife crisis. And she told me a story about me as a baby, and then said that, you've been a fighter your whole life. So, and I needed that story at 26, by the way. But yeah, just I mean, that's how I came into this world. And then, dad to this dysfunctional household. I grew up in an abusive household. Like, ever since I can remember as a child. And I don't remember much of my childhood. I told my therapist that not too long ago. I don't remember much of it at all. If you ask me about it, it's not that I want to bring up the bad parts, but that's literally my childhood. So the abuse to, just growing up in poverty. West Side St. Louis is one of the worst places in America. You know what I mean? Like if you look it up, like St. Louis is number one in murder capital, and then top five in just violence in general. And there's no place to raise a young man.
sure.
So, but that's where I grew up at. And so yeah, just dysfunctional household, poverty, abuse. And my mom and dad separated when I was 3. So like many of us, that have grown up in similar conditions, you toss to and fro between just, you don't have structure, you don't have foundation. So for
Yeah.
me, I've always been a leader. I've always been outspoken. And, sure, if you're not getting love in your household, you're not getting love in your family, it's natural for you to go seek it somewhere else. So for me, just seeking that validation and affirmations, it's just in the neighborhood, you hear me, and wanting to be seen, wanting to be felt, wanting to be heard. And what that looked like for me was, just being around violence, being around negativity, being around, but not even by choice, but just being around. So, and then I became active in the gang when I was 13, and and then I got shot at 15.
Mm.
Uh, and my
How many
mom.
times were you shot?
So it's. I always say I got shot twice, but it's challenging. I have multiple bullet holes. I have entrance holes, exit holes. So the I got s- the I got 2 bullet holes in me. So let's put it like that. And the
Mhm.
damage is the damage is way more than what it looked like. Oh, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So,
that
um,
internal damage, yes.
yeah, yeah, no, it's always there. And I started saying it like that. I used to say it differently back then, but
Mhm.
I started changing that because I read this book. And I think a lot of people minimize uh, you know, gunshot victims. I don't think they really realize
Mm.
what we've experienced. And even on the body, like, may see a hole, but it tore up everything. Anyway, that's a whole nother conversation. Like, but, uh, so, yeah, then, my mom, my mom decided that I cannot be in St. Louis no more.
Mm.
But the crazy thing about the story
Yeah.
is I was told that I was gonna get shot before I got shot. You know what I mean? Like I was prophesied to, because I was in Houston. I was in Houston uh, a few weeks. No, I was in Houston a week before I got shot.
Oh,
So
okay.
I was her visiting.
Uh-huh.
I was her visiting. And um, but actually, my mom didn't find out till later. But I was actually like, I knew something bad was gonna happen. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know I was gonna
Mm.
get shot, but I knew something bad because I knew what I had got myself involved in.
So you could feel it. You can feel that
Oh
kind
yeah,
of
yeah, for
that
sure.
rise. Yeah.
I can't. My mama tell you, I went to her and I was like, "Yeah, I wanna." Said, "Mom, I wanna go somewhere." She's like, "But where you wanna go?" I said, "Houston, because that's the only place we've ever been." You know,
Ah, okay.
we came here before when I was 8, and we was here for 2 years, so I had met a friend, and that's the only person that I knew outside of St. Louis. But
Wow.
now I'm 15, and
Mm,
I would keep in touch with the friend, as much as I could, but, she ended up calling, the family, and they said, "Yeah, I can come visit." Little did they know I was trying to hide out, but I ended up coming back home. Well, I ended up coming back home because when I came here, they was trying to get me to pull my pants up and read the Bible and go to church with them and
mhm.
stuff. And,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, I just I wasn't the same person no more mentally, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? So I battled with all that. And the day I was leaving, um, the lady at the house, Miss Johnson, she came to me crying and she was like, don't go. God showed me a vision that she was beating on my door. And when I opened the door, you had bullet holes all in your back and you died.
Wow.
And
Mm,
at that time I was like, I don't believe like, I'm a child. Like I'm okay, cool, I'm still going home, but and 2 days later I got shot. So
wow.
so that's the whole story, and I always try to, whenever I have time to say the whole story, I say it because
Mhm.
it minimizes it if I just say, "Oh yeah, I was outside in the
But
streets,
yeah.
I got shot." Oh no, I was prophesied to. I was told that I was gonna get shot
Yeah, yeah,
before I
yeah.
before I
And
got
g
shot.
and God was already, like, showing up in your life way before you even accepted that
Right,
presence.
right. So next thing you know, I'm on a plane back to Houston. The same family took me back in, and they
Mm,
gave me shelter. And that's the first. That's like, God reveals Himself in different ways. God
absolutely.
revealed Himself to me through love. Like, just Miss Johnson saying you can come back. It's just I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here. And I always give her flowers. I tell her all the time, any interview I do, I'm gonna say your name. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like, because you are an angel to me,
Yeah.
and you saved my life. And,
Wow.
so then I'm in Houston, and that's where it all, like, the inner work started happening, but, life still was happening to me. I ended up living with 6 different families throughout high school.
Oh, wow.
I ended up living out of trash bag my whole high school, like all throughout high school. Just impoverished, just not having money, being, and not really having direction. Uh, and that's where my affinity for the black woman comes from, because in every family that I stayed with, it was a black woman that said, where you sleeping at tonight? Or what, are you hungry? It was always a
Mm,
black woman that looked out for me, always. And
yeah.
so I really have an affinity for the black woman, because they reached for me even when I didn't want to be reached for.
Right, right.
So God is you always use the woman, the black woman as the instrument for me. And so that's why I talk about the black woman. That's why, I want to, make sure that my life is a reflection of my gratitude, as
Mhm.
much as I can, as I navigate my own life. But yes, I'm here in Houston, and I end up my junior and senior year, I started to come into my own, as a teenager, and I would go around the school. That's where I started rapping. I started
Okay.
going around. Well, I started being in different leadership program. Like I just my voice became, and then next thing you know, I'm going around the school, and anybody who I knew that was in the gang, I would literally go talk to them, and we the same age. They used to call they used to call me what they called me in high school. They used to call me a whole bunch of stuff, but they used to call me preacher man, because I used to always
Oh,
they
wow.
like, "When you come around preaching," I'm like, "Nah," and what's crazy about it is some people that I did talk to in high school about gang culture, and some of them died due to
Well,
gang culture, you know what I
so
mean? So,
is that when you started actually, like, writing?
well, I've been writing my whole life. Like,
Okay.
I've been writing has always been therapeutic for me. I remember times that I used to get beat, and I used to go write it
Mm,
out. And I was 9 or something. I was 10. So when I look back in retrospect, I've always had writing has always been therapeutic for me, for sure. But in high school, it definitely became more of a conscious thing. And I would write, I would pass out my CDs, I would perform in like the different school events. And then at 19, I was invited to be on B.E.T 106 in Park to tell my story. I did a teen violence special with Terrence and Roxy and BT.
wow.
And then that's my story went out. And next thing you know, I'm traveling the country.
Nice. Oh my god, absolutely love it. So you mentioned
Sure.
therapist. You mentioned
Yeah.
using writing as one of your tools for moving through your own internal pain. Are there any other healing practices that are an active part of life?
Yeah, eating. Oh my God, like, I don't even
Mm.
think it's talked about that much, but,
Yeah.
eating, like eating well, eating clean,
Mm.
intuitive eating, like, I never like, when I look back at my plate, my God, I definitely I mean, the more knowledge that I've grown, in just eating and being conscious of what I eat, when I look at some decisions I used to make, how people be like, "Follow your gut."
Yeah.
But if you got a bad gut, you you are following your
Yeah,
gut.
because your gut is your second brain. I mean,
Right.
that's yeah.
And so eating is definitely a form of therapy, you know what I mean? Eating
Hmm.
clean, juicing, things like that. It makes
Absolutely.
my spirit feel different. Um, and so there's that. I love to read. I love reading books. I love to read. And um honestly, just like grounding myself, like I love that. Like I'm in my home right now, have my whole place is full of plants and greenery.
Yeah.
So all that's therapeutic for me. But writing, meditation, and just um self-reflection is something that I've been recently introduced to on a deeper level, and that's been so therapeutic for me. I went so long without having reflective days, you know what I mean? And I don't know how I went that far without it, but
Mhm.
it's new for me, and I'm glad that I'm here now.
Wow. That self-reflection is like for me is so essential. I mean,
Yeah,
I started meditating and was introduced to the practice of yoga um, back in the 90s, time ago. But it didn't really come become significant in my life until I was much older and much more mature and had experienced, moments of pain and trauma. Um,
gotcha.
the thing that I love about listening to your music and just kind of again, just kind of listening to some of your other interviews is the way that you phrase and bring in positive messages while at the same time having this very interesting balance and dynamic of intensity, trauma, pain. And so I'm really curious, have you always been just very lyrical and just been able to find that thread while the thread is not static, it's more of like this flow of balance?
Yeah. Um, I would say, yeah, I would say yes. I think I've always been lyrical. Like when I think back, I don't know. It's definitely a gift from God. Like
Mm.
I don't think that I've done anything to. I mean, I've sharpened it. I've grown it, but it's a gift from God. It's a gift from the Most High. Like
Yeah.
there's times I sit back and I'm like, dang, like where does this come from? You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
where I'd really be doing it, and I'd really be like, yo, this is crazy, but it's a gift from God. I've always had a way with words. I've always been witty. You know what I
Mm.
mean? I've always
Okay.
been quick on my feet. Like even as a child, I'm a quick thinker. So I've always been able to paint lyrically and mentally. I've
Mm.
always been able to. I don't know where it came from.
Yeah.
Uh, and since then, I mean, now where I'm at now, the way that I use the gift is on a whole nother level now. I
Yeah.
promise you, it's on a whole nother level now. But it's definitely a gift from the Most High for sure.
Wow. So I want you to kind of explain to some of my listeners. I mean, I know the whole concept of God body because I really like I talk about this a lot in my book that God lives within me. God is me. I am this
Yeah.
divine representation of God. But I just want you to kind of share your perspective on your whole message around God body
Yeah,
and where
yeah,
does
for
all
sure.
that come from?
Well, the origin in the thought process originally came from just, me being around, like, my uncle and 'cause I was taught nationality before I was taught, spirituality, if that makes
No,
sense. Like,
can you just share a little bit what nationality is, just
yeah,
in
so,
case some people don't know?
yeah, got you. So nationality, in a sense of, us knowing where we come from, and I think that that's very biblical for those that whether read the Bible or read the Quran, anything, anything you read, if you study nationality, you'll learn that, we all come from, um, like we not just black, we're not just white,
Mhm.
we're not just, like we're put in this race system. But if you go into the Bible, it talks about the genealogy and it talks about the tribes, it talks about, like everything. And our nationality is beyond what race we are,
Yeah.
what color we are, and things like that. So, we all come from tribes. We all come from our history didn't start in Africa. You know what I mean? Like, our history goes beyond Africa, it goes beyond all of that. And so nationality is identifying um, your like your tribe and the depths of you, like really tracing our lineage back to um its original state.
Yeah.
And then when we trace that back, we find that before we were slaves, we were kings, we were queens, we were, what I mean, we come from royal priesthood. Uh and that is nationality. Uh what in There's somewhat of a crash course on it, but it's deeper than that. And then so my uncle did 30 years in the penitentiary, and he used to call, and I used to talk to him, and he used to just tell me about, Noble Drew Ali, he used to tell me about the Moors, tell me that, I'm not black. He would tell me I'm not colored. He would tell me that, you like we identify by these things because it makes society comfortable. But, we start identifying by our tribes and by um, our roots. It throws off whatever. Sorry, my dog. Stop.
It's all good. My dog is asleep right
He
now, so
tripping. Relax. Relax. I'm doing an interview. Relax. Um. so when we identify like that, it's just a deeper sense of self knowledge or a higher sense of self knowledge, and so
yep.
we go from that down to just the supreme mathematics, and really just
Mhm.
understanding like the just God is smarter than us, and so who are we to reduce him down to a building? Who are we to
Mhm.
reduce him down to a Sunday service? Who are we to reduce
Oh,
him down to some songs and some conduct management? And like who are we? Like who are we to reduce him down to
absolutely.
genders? Who are we reduce him down to anything? And I don't want to play that game. I let other people say that. Look, you wanna tell God what he gonna do and what he not gonna do. That's you. I yield to the higher power, and that's where God body comes from because you know I've I used to I used to identify as a Christian years ago, and now I mean I haven't been, man, last 5 years of my life, I don't identify as a Christian, but uh, believe in God, believe in Yeshua, believe in the gospel, believe in redemption, believe in the blood, like all those things. It's just I just feel like you know just God is so boxed up into our social constructs and our
Same.
social. And I don't feel like I don't think God happy about that. I just really don't think he up there like yo, what I mean, like
Why
he
so
like
separate? Yeah, yeah,
right.
yeah.
I don't think so. I genuinely don't. I think that, so for me, I always talk about God in my music. Like if people listen deep,
Mhm.
all the concepts, all the precepts, all the principles, all of the is, I'm telling my personal story, and it's woven in between gems uh and uh and just a journey and a path. So God body is just me saying God is in my body,
Yeah.
and God body energy, God is in my body, and that's who gives me energy. That's literally it. And you know, I wanted to create something that was holistic, that give everybody something to be a part of, and that doesn't
Mhm.
feel like division.
Yeah.
Um, Now, like I say, I'm very strong into where I am and what I believe and my principles and things like that. But I don't believe that the Most High sits up there and wants us to be treat each other so like expendables and treat each other the way. So I say, okay, God is in my body. And when I started sending my music, I mean, it's a personal mantra. I have God
Mhm.
body tattooed on my stomach. And, then it just took a life of its own to where now there's people all over the country, you know what I mean? There's people getting God body tattooed on them. There's people that's like, and to know that the whole, like when these people say God body and listen to my music or they represent it, that's giving God glory. That makes me happy. I want to hear well done when I'm done with this life.
Absolutely.
That's what I want to hear. I want to hear well done. I want to
That's what
hear
we get
well
to.
done. So anything that will direct the glory back to God,
Mm.
that's all it's about. Like the rest of it, they want to argue about his facial features, his this, his gender, his race. I don't. That's not my task.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm a farmer. Yeah, one plant, one water. God get
Mm.
increase. I'm just a farmer, man. Look, you want to stand in the middle of the road and argue what kind of shoes Jesus wore on the cross, you know what I'm saying? And what kind of cologne he was wearing on the
Yeah.
road. So I don't do look, I'm not knocking nobody that, the theologians that want to
Abs
go deep into that part. But
yeah.
that's not my passion, nor is it my sensitivities. The Most High keeps me sensitive on um the community, the fatherless, the widows, the kids, the homeless. He says focus on the unseen things. And I just stay right there and I just maximize that spot. you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah, drop
Yeah.
into that space, drop it. I feel you. It's really funny. Funny and interesting all at the same time, I guess. Is at one point in my life, definitely was a teenager during these years, and I was like cursing God, like F you.
Yeah.
Like because there was so much happening in my family life. And then at some point, of course, through my meditation practice and my mindfulness and yoga practices, I started to see God in all things. Were there any moments in your life where you were like, oh, hell no, God, I'm done? Or were you at some point you knew that God was already always there and you never
No,
let go of it?
I'm let go. I didn't I didn't I told God one time, I said, I didn't say this out loud, but in my mind, I definitely said it. If God, if you was human, we would be boxing right now. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I've had so much stuff happen in my life to where I definitely was angry at God. My dad
Mhm.
passed away. And that's what really, that played a big major role into just where my life now. Because at that time, like I said, identified as a Christian, and not even just as a Christian, because I have nothing against Christianity. Clearly, I just don't put God in that box. I just don't.
Yeah.
But at that time, I was active. I was church every Sunday.
Oh, wow.
Or just the lifestyle of one that would identify. And my dad, I talked to him Wednesday and Friday. He was brain dead, and I flew home to St. Louis, and I started to put into practice all the things that I've been training for. I mean,
Yeah.
ain't that what we do for, right? For moments to God, so God can show up and show His glory, and then when God shows His glory publicly, then everybody, you know, are in awe of the power of God, and therefore they become believers. Therefore, they get their salvation, all that. So, my dad in the hospital bed, I'm praying. I got gospel music playing in this room. I anoint his head with oil. You know what I mean? Like I'm sitting there arguing with the doctors. Me and my family arguing with the nurses and stuff because God is gonna show up today. God gonna show up. 3 days passed. My dad brain dead. They said they got to pull the plug. And it just my relationship with God was fractured at then.
Mm.
It was fractured. And it broke me, you know what I mean? And then after that, a few months after that, because I was engaged at the time when it happened. A few months after that, my engagement was called off. And we were 4 months out of a wedding. So yeah, now I'm alone. My dad passed away. I'm alone, and it's the first time I ever went through depression ever. I've never been depressed before, like, but I went through like depression to my like the sunlight hurts depression, like not one like sleeping on a friend's couch in the same clothes, like
Yeah.
for weeks. I just couldn't. So it was at that moment that's really the biggest moment for me that I mean, think about. There's many moments, but that's the biggest moment, biggest pivotal moment for me, my relationship with God, to where I felt like I was in the wilderness. I didn't feel His presence. I didn't feel His. I mean, I didn't see Him. I couldn't hear Him.
Yeah.
I felt lost, and you know, I mean, I hit rock bottom, and
Yeah.
and and that just started a whole bunch of different things for me. And then next thing you know, um, I'm at my aunt's house. I think I'm 27 or 28, and I'm AJ McQueen now. I'm AJ McQueen. I'm known. I got accolades, this, that. But now I'm 27, 28 years old, living in my auntie's house, sleeping on her mattress in her extra room. I don't have nothing, and the only thing that I had in that room, I was back to a trash bag full of clothes. I came back to that same spot, and as I was when I was in high school, and 'cause I packed up all my stuff. I thought I was gonna get married. I packed up all my stuff. I just had this whole plan, and my plans didn't work. So I'm living with my aunt, and I had my dad's records, and his record player in that room in my aunt's house, and I had a laptop and I had a microphone. That's all I had. And that's where I could restart it and I rebuild, and I went through a whole awakening. My locks started to mat up. I stopped getting my hair done. I stopped shaving my face. Like, I went through a whole, like, you go look at pictures of me, like, when I was 27, 28, I like a whole different person.
I'm gonna have to
You know?
go find some because that
Yeah,
looks
you
good.
yeah, like, I look like a whole different person. I ain't gonna lie, I look like a whole new person. But I changed, like, I went through a whole metamorphosis.
Yeah.
And that's where I started to write my music, like, really, like,
Mm,
focus on write my music, and
okay.
then, that's where all of this person that I am now, that's where it came from, all that.
Yeah.
It came from that moment where I didn't feel God at all, but honestly, he was with me the whole time, but you know what I mean?
Wow. Yeah. It's really fascinating how that happens because when I look at my life, there were like these very specific moments and times, but definitely one of the biggest moments, and I'll just share this really quickly. One of the biggest moments was when my older brother died. And that was in the 90s. That's when I started practicing yoga and meditation. And then 5 to 6 years later, my father died. So
Mhm.
it's like, and for
Yeah,
me, I was like, holy crap, because now in my head, in my heart, I'm like, I don't have those powerful male figures in my life anymore. And I'm like, who am I going to lean on? So
right,
that was like once my dad passed, it was like, that was the second moment I was like, God, come on now. Please.
right.
I'm falling to my knees. Let's let's figure this out. I need to move forward and how can I? And so but it's really fascinating how even in some of those most challenging, hardest, um, emotionally traumatizing moments, God shows back up.
He do, every single time,
Yeah.
and he shows up in times and in ways that are non-conventional. It's what
Mm,
we didn't expect it, and exactly what we need, and I've
yeah.
recently went through I've recently went through a moment, not quite like I said, my dad passed things, but it hurt as much, but just in a whole different way. And
Mm,
same thing, but this time differently, I feel God through the whole thing. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Even in my darkest moment, even in my darkest time, I still felt God, and He's showing up in ways that only He can. So
Right.
my faith is, even though it was fractured, my faith is stronger than it's ever been.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I feel you. I mean, it's really fascinating too that when we do have some type of or a variety of healing tools or one major healing tool, or we have a consistent spiritual practice,
Right.
when a moment hits us, I feel like we have the capacity and the trust and the belief and the faith to know that we can move forward. That even though we're experiencing the pain and the
Right.
grittiness and the ugliness in that moment, that we can step out and reconnect to life
Indeed.
again.
Indeed.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
I agree 100%.
yeah. So, coming to a close, I just want to find out if there's anything else that you want to just, you have like all kinds of gems that you drop. I mean, King, King is dropping the gems. Like I sent your music to some of my friends that, I mean, they know I'm like a serious music head and I listen to everything. So they're like, really, girl, where you find this? It's AJ McQueen is in that. Hey, are you not there? Come on, I'm like, come on, crew. We're all about the God body. We're
Right.
God body queens over here.
Yes, Lord.
Um, so yeah, so they were excited about it and they were like, oh my God, I can't wait to listen. But is there like one major gem, like anything that's sitting on your heart right now that you like to share?
Um, man, okay. I think for me and where I'm at, and maybe whoever's listening to this, could relate or take something from it or whatever. But I know we look in the mirror. I know, we get ready for our day. We check our face. We make sure we brush our teeth. We do this. We look in the fall. We look at the camera. Um, but I question how many times we actually reflect though. What I
Mm,
mean? Like, you know, before the mirror was created, the world still had some of the great philosophers and leaders of just humankind, mankind. And they would go days, weeks, months, years with it, never looking at themselves, and you know, but they will look at themselves through the eyes of somebody else.
mm,
You know what I mean? Like, cause that's how you reflect it, you know, and we are in such a time in life, a space in life where we can go and we can look at ourselves and within seconds, but not really look at ourselves.
mm.
And that speaks to where I felt like I was at, for a long time, unknowingly too,
Yeah.
in a place where I couldn't, it was things about myself I just could not see, you know, and I I felt like I had grown, I evolved, but some of us, you know, like what are we comparing our growth to and our evolution to? I'm from the streets, so I had got content, or I had got comfortable rather, being able to say I've grown and I evolved, but I'm comparing it to people I grew up with and family and friends. So, yeah, you walk around here saying, "Yeah, I've grown. I'm better than my cousin. I'm better than my uncle. I beat the streets." But the levels and the heights that the Most High wants us to reach are insurmountable. They don't compare to your cousin. They don't compare to your homeboy from around the corner. Like so. And these are things I had to tell myself.
Yeah.
And so the I've been reflecting in ways to where I've seen the most ugliest things about myself, like stuff that like I've had cringe moments within myself about myself, oversight, things that I just you know I don't know, like I just wasn't seeing, or I wasn't allowing myself to be seen by others. So I encourage listeners and anybody who just r- reflect for real. What you can't see, give yourself permission and give somebody else permission to see it, to see you, whether it's through therapy, whether it's through, like, I don't know, wise counsel, just a safe space to be seen, because life is mirrors. This all is just a mirror moment. All this whole life is a mirror moment. And um God is the biggest mirror that we'll ever get. So the closer we get to him, the
Mhm.
closer we'll see ourselves. And
Absolutely.
then, you have your parents or family, that's a big mirror. And then you go down and your loved one or whatever. All these are mirror moments. But the mirror only work, the reflection only works if you're looking into it openly and authentic. It don't work the other way. It don't work no other way. You could be staring at yourself and not realize,
Abs-
and not see. So don't just, you know, I encourage reflection. Like I'm in a very reflective state. I sit with myself, I talk to myself, I journal, I do things. that I've been doing, but I was so mindless with it, and self-absorbed that I wasn't even paying attention to some things. But now I'm paying attention to all things, and I feel like I can hear God in ways that I didn't hear him before. And I just encourage everybody just to don't cheat the person in the mirror. Do
Mm.
not cheat the person in the mirror. So
Wow.
yeah.
Don't cheat the person in here. Wow. Love that. So, are there any tour dates or anything that people need to be aware of what's popping? I'm sure you have all kinds of things going on. Are you coming to New Orleans anytime soon? I mean, come on.
Um,
You're like right down the street.
I
Then I
know,
can have
right?
you like in person, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. I'm actually planning a tour. I haven't announced this, so I'm definitely giving you an exclusive right now. I'm planning a tour for the end of the year.
Okay.
I've been contemplating for a while, and I'm ready to touch the road, and be with the people, So
Mhm.
I'll announce the dates and the locations. So so there's that. I'm also releasing a book next month, my second book, and it's a poetry
High
book.
five.
Right?
Oh,
It's a
I
po-
love it. I love
it's
it.
a poetry book. So if people love my music or my words or my thoughts that they see online or what have you, the book is my most unfiltered, uh,
Mm.
inspirational and inquisitive, invasive, uh, uh, contradictory, raw piece of work that I've ever. It's the most conflicting piece of work I've ever written. It's because in this book you see my thoughts, my deep thoughts, like
Mm.
that's the stuff that it don't fit a song. It don't fit a format on Instagram. It don't fit a box or a reel or a ratio. Like it's my raw emotions. But I feel like I'm in a place where God wants me just to continue on this stream of consciousness and this this authentic role, and then that's led me to writing my second book. So people can pre-order that on my website
Okay.
ajthegreat.com. And I think
I'll,
it's gonna
I'll
be.
definitely include all of that in the show notes.
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
appreciate that. And of course, new music is coming soon, and just we got some great things coming. So be on the lookout.
I love it. Yeah, because God is speaking through you. So you have
Thank you, beloved.
lots of things to deliver to this
Thank you.
world and to leave your presence known. So yeah, I just want to say thank you again for doing this and joining me. I need to send you a copy of my book, so I'll touch base with your
I would love that.
assistant
I would love that.
when you talked about, how that your book right now and probably even the first one has some stuff in there that people you can't put into a format because yeah, you can't
Yeah,
can't see it in a square.
not at all. Not
Doesn't
at
work
all.
on a reel.
Mm-mm.
But yeah, sending you so much love, so much gratitude, so many blessings, and we'll continue to watch magic unfold because that's exactly what you're giving to the world.
Oh, you're too kind. I appreciate you, and I'm glad that you had me on for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. Take care.
Peace, peace, love, peace.
Peace. Ooh, all right, all right. Beautiful people. I hope that you found some moments of clarity, inspiration. I mean, the downloads were present, the gems were dropped. And yeah, it was such a delight to interview AJ. You can just feel his energy and his amazing spirit even through our stream. The thing I want you to walk away with is that God is in you. You, you are God body. God lives within you. God floats around you. God is everywhere. So just as he shared in the interview, take time out to reflect. That means to be present, pause, breathe into your crown, into your spirit, to the soles of your feet. Make time for that divine connection through reflection. Yeah, that's it. That is it, beautiful people. And thank you again for another episode of Spiritually Fly. Yeah. Ciao. Have a good one.